Arias is 12 months. By this age, he has acquired many vital skills with which he can understand others and learn about the world. He realizes that if he follows someone's gaze, he will understand what someone is interested in. If he sees someone pointing, he understands that they want him to look there. He also knows that people spend their time engaged in all sorts of activities. But recently, by pulling these new skills together, he's beginning to understand something more. That there are intentions behind other people's actions. That they have goals. For example, he watches his mother go over to the chest of drawers. It's a familiar action, and now Arias understands that his mother is going over there for a reason. She has a goal. There is something she wants. It's the top right-hand drawer. It must be socks. To find out what babies understand about the goals of others and to what extent they can keep track of them, researchers at René Baillargeon's lab at the University of Illinois have devised a little performance. 14-month Rachel sees the arms of one researcher playing with a bear. In the next scene, she sees the other researcher playing with a doll. This little play is repeated several times. Will Rachel learn that one researcher's goal is the bear and the other one's goal is the doll? To answer the question, the researchers switch the location of the toys. When the screen goes up again, the researcher whose previous goal was the doll now chooses the bear. Rachel is mystified by this choice. She points at the researcher on her right as if to say, "I thought you were the one who was interested in the bear." Now the same researcher picks up the doll. Even though it was in a different location, Rachel remembers that the doll was this person's original goal. She can relax now. Order has been restored. What is amazing is that a child at 14 months can understand that each of the researchers had a goal and was able to keep track of the goals of two separate people. The baby human at a remarkably young age of 14 months understands that people have goals. But what do they understand about other people's behavior? Can they understand by their actions what their inner intentions are? Elias is unable to reach his favorite toy. Does Elias know that it's not that his mother is unwilling to give him his toy? It's just that at the moment, she's unable to do it.
What's going on? You want the toy? Okay. I'll be with you in a minute.
When does the baby human understand the difference between unwilling and unable? And do they react differently to these two different situations?
Go, come on.
That's what Michael Tomasello's lab in Germany set out to learn. 18-month Hannes is playing a game with one of the researchers. She holds out a rubber ball as if she is offering it to him. But just at the point where he's about to reach it, she pretends to accidentally drop the ball to show that she is unable to give it to him. After a few attempts, he realizes that he can't expect anything from this clumsy researcher and gives up. For the next part of the study, the researcher holds out the ball as if to offer it to Hannes. But as soon as he reaches for it, she intentionally pulls it away. Hannes begins to protest. This indicates that he knows that this time it's not a question of the researcher being unable to give him the ball, but that she's unwilling. He's frustrated with the situation and shows his impatience. Researchers have found that babies even as young as 9 months can know the difference between unwilling and unable and begin to understand the intentions of others. On the animal side of the Max Planck Institute, Researchers tried the same experiment on chimps to find out whether it is only humans that can tell the difference between unwilling and unable. First, the researcher enacts unable. He repeatedly drops the grape. Fifi doesn't get upset, but eventually, like the baby human, gives up.
Fifi.
Soon another chimp called Brett comes along to take her place. This time the researcher performs unwilling. He holds out the grape and pulls it back. It takes Brett a few moments to realize he's being teased, but once he does, he loses his temper with the researcher and shows his displeasure in no uncertain terms by stalking off. It appears that their shared evolutionary history gives both humans and chimps the ability to distinguish unwilling from unable. So the baby human can distinguish unwilling from unable. But what do they understand about accidental and intentional? Elias is thrilled with his new blue drinking cup. It's a grown-up cup. But Elias hasn't gotten the hang of drinking from it yet. His mother knows that it was an accident, and so does Elias. As the saying goes, there's no use in crying over spilled milk. But Elias is no longer interested in drinking milk. He wonders what else this cup could be used for. An experiment in the properties of liquids, perhaps. Elias's mother knows the difference between an accidental action and a deliberate one in her son, and ends his experiment. But when does the baby human learn to distinguish intentional from accidental in others? That's the question posed by researchers at Concordia University.
Are we ready?
14-month Justin is visiting Diane Poulin-Dubois' Infant Studies Lab.
Okay, now, ready?
The researcher introduces the experiment by showing Justin that her action on the toy causes an image to appear on the screen.
Look at that. Wow. Okay, now your turn. Can you make it work? Show me. Bravo.
He gets the idea that there's a cause and effect and is excited.
Yeah. Oh, let's try another one.
Then the experiment begins.
Now watch me. I'm going to show you how this works.
The researcher does two different actions.
There.
One is intentional, and the other accidental.
Look at that.
Will Justin know which
Wow.
button is more likely
Okay,
to
now your
activate the
turn.
display?
Can you make it work? Bravo!
He goes directly to the orange star, which indicates that he knows oops is accidental and there is intentional.
Wow. Now your turn.
Researchers have concluded that before the baby human can even speak, they can tell the difference between intentional and accidental.
Oh,
And some children even provide their own sound effects.
that's a horsey sound. Good for you.
We put all the colors right here, and we need to pick a color. All the colors right here, and it will fall.
The baby human spends a great deal of time trying to understand the intentions and desires of others. By observing the actions of his sister Emily, James can guess what she intends to do. The two of them have agreed to draw a picture of their doll. But soon, James will learn that even though they share the same experience, it doesn't necessarily mean that they will have the same perception of it. A lot depends on perspective.